All right, so just to recap what we did on Friday with solving systems by substitution. So substitution is the second way to solve a system. It's the second way to solve a system. So substitution is when you take something that is already solved and you plug it into something else. We've been doing this since the beginning of the year, taking something and plugging it in. Take something, plug it in. Now we're just doing it to help us solve an equation. So on Friday, we get started with just a number. We took a number, plugged it in, solved out the problem, kept it moving. Then we went from a number to an expression. Did the same thing. Then we went to a more complex expression. Did the same thing. Then we came to the situation in which both of the equations were equal to the same variable. In this case, both of them were already in slope-intercept form. So that's when we take the parts and set them equal to each other. And then we did one example in which neither problem was set up, and we needed to rewrite. We need to do a rewrite. Now, for problems like number 5, there's actually a better way to solve these type of problems, and that's called elimination. We will be doing that starting Monday. But for today, we're doing it with using substitution. So we're going to do one more example in which we have to rewrite. And then we're going to do an example in which we're practicing graphing and substitution. So that's what we had done. Let's look at example number 6. So example 6, I don't need that. There we go. So example 6, negative 3a plus b equals 4. Negative 9a plus 5b equals negative 1. Now, one thing you probably already noticed, we have a's and b's instead of x's and y's. If it makes you uncomfortable with using a different letter than x and y, then go ahead and change it. If A and B makes you uncomfortable, then change them to x's and y's. It does not change the problem. It does not hurt the problem. So if you prefer to use x and y, be my guest. Do you have to change it? No. You do not have to change it. If it makes you feel better using x and y, go for it. But we still have the same problem. If we look at both equations, neither one of them have x or y by themselves. Neither one of them have x or y by itself. So we need either, write this off to the side here, need x equals something or y equals something. So which equation is easier to rewrite? All right, so we got two y's. Which equation? The first or the second? Oh. So the first one is easier to rewrite, and it's easier to get y by itself. Why is it easier to get y by itself? Because there's no number in front of it. There's no number in front of it. So we're going to rewrite. So Either x is by itself or y is by itself. So that's the first thing, first step. So when we did this last week, I believe it was Tyra that helped us through this one. We spent a couple minutes rewriting one of those equations, and we were getting a whole bunch of fractions. We want to avoid fractions as long as possible. We want to avoid fractions as much as possible. So if we can get away with this without having to get a fraction, that's good for us. So let's go ahead and rewrite negative 3x plus y equals 4. So if I want y by itself, what would I have to do to both sides? Y by itself. Y by itself, what am I doing with 3x? Negative. You add it. So it's already negative, so you add it to both sides. So you add it to both sides. So y equals 3x plus 4. So you have y equals 3x plus 4. Why is it not y equals 7x? Why is that wrong? Why is 7x wrong? They are not like terms. So it's y equals 3x plus 4. Any questions before we continue? Or was it what? Nope. This 4, the reason why you can't add that is because 4 doesn't have an x behind it. In order for you to combine like terms, they both have to have the same variable. Now, if 4 had an x behind it, then we can put it together. But since it doesn't, we have to leave it like that. So now, you have y equals 3x plus 4 and negative 9x plus 5y equals negative 1. So now we can substitute. Now we can do the substitution because we have something that can go in. So step 2, we can now substitute. And those of you who know what you're doing, feel free to work ahead of us. But now we can substitute. So we're going to take y equals 3x plus 4 and plug it in for y. So we're going to take 3x plus 4 and plug it in for y. Now we can go. So now we can start solving. So step 1, solve for the variable. So what's next? Now what do we do? Now we distribute. You see parentheses, you distribute. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 4 is 20. Equals negative 1. Then what? Now we can combine like terms. Negative 9 and 15 both have x's on them. So negative 9 plus 15 is 6x. Now what? Get rid of the 20. How are we going to get rid of 20? Subtract it. So 6x equals negative 21. So to get x by itself, what do we have to do to both sides? Divide by 6. So we're going to get x equals negative 3.5. You got scared because you got a decimal. Stop it. Decimals are numbers too. If you're scared of decimals, then that means you're scared of money too. Money is just a form of a decimal. Money is a form of a decimal. So now we know x. So before we go to find y, any questions before we continue? If you get a decimal in any problem, it's okay. Decimals are numbers too. It's okay to get a decimal answer if you did the math correctly. It's okay to get a decimal if you did the math right. Anyone who ever told you that if you get a decimal, then you did something wrong, they lied to you. Unless they got a specific reason for saying that. So, we got negative 3.5. So now that we know that x is equal to negative 3.5, what can we do with it? Step 4 is plug in the first answer to get the other answer. Plug in the first answer to get the other answer. So, we have several options to use. So we can take negative 3.5 and plug it into the two equations that we started with, or the one that we rewrote. It doesn't matter which one you pick, you just have to pick one. So I'm going to use y equals 3x plus 4. Why? Because I felt like it. So you're talking about after you get negative 3.5. So after you get the first answer, then you go back to either one of the two problems that you started with, or the problem that you rewrote, and you plug it in. So take negative 3.5 and plug it in for x. It doesn't matter which one you pick. That's up to you. So after you do that, that gets you the second part of the answer. So all of your answers are two parts. Every answer now is two parts. There's always two parts to the answer. So Noah said it's negative 6.5, so let's see if he's right. So take negative 3.5, a little highlighter, take negative 3.5 and plug it in for x. So y equals 3 times negative 3.5 plus 4. So that's negative 10.5 plus 4, which is negative 6.5. So that means your final answer is negative 3.5, comma, negative 6.5. Why does it go in that order? Because x comes before y in the alphabet. That's why. That's why it's written there. Any questions with example 6? Take a moment for those people who need to finish writing everything down, copying down steps. Go ahead. After we did 3 times negative 3.5, that's negative 10.5. And then negative 10.5 plus 4 is negative 6.5. So that's because we used y equals 3x plus 4. So if you use a different equation, your setup might be a little different. You should get the same answer regardless of which equation you use. The only way you would not get the same answer is if you do something mathematically wrong. Like you added and you were supposed to subtract. That is correct. You want to find what point will work for that problem. What specific combination will work for that problem? Just like if you play video games, there's one specific combination that you have to press on the Xbox or the PS5 to execute a particular move so that you can win whatever game you're playing. Any other questions? Example 6 before we turn our attention to example 7. All right, example 7. So for example 7, this one you're going to take time to practice and actually work out yourself to see if you know how to graph and know how to do substitution. So there's your problem. Y equals 4x plus 3 and 2x minus 3y equals 21. You are first going to do the problem by graphing, and then you're going to do the problem using substitution. Now, if you do this correctly, you should get the same answer. You should get the exact same answer regardless of which way you do it. But you're going to practice doing it because this is similar to how it's going to look when you take your quiz this weekend. Because these are the two methods that are on it. So, I'm going to give you 10 minutes to solve out example 7. 5 minutes to graph it, 5 minutes to solve substitution. For some of you, it is not going to take you 10 minutes. But I'm going to give you 10 minutes anyway. That's true. Now, to start off with, the answer that you should have gotten is -3, comma, -9. So that's the answer that you should have got, regardless of which way you did it. So let's look at graph. Y equals 4x plus 3 means that your slope is 4/1 and your y-intercept is 3. Go to your y-axis, put your point at 3. Since your slope is positive 4, that means you go up 4 and to the right 1. Turn around, go in the other direction, go down 4 to the left 1. Someone came off mute. If you have a question, go ahead. So, for 2x minus 3y equals 21, that has to be rewritten. So you need to move the 2x. So that's subtracting 2x on both sides. And then dividing by -3. So y equals a negative divided by a negative is positive. So positive 2/3. A positive divided by a negative is negative. -7. So your slope is 2/3 and your y-intercept is -7. Go to the y-axis. Put your dot on -7. Go up 2 to the right 3. And draw your line. So there's the point where they met, which is -3, comma, -9. So that's how it should have worked if you graphed it. Well, not if, when you graphed it. For substitution, y equals 4x plus 3, and 2x minus 3y equals 21. You already have something that's solved. So y equals 4x plus 3, plug it in for y. So take the y out, put 4x plus 3 in. Now you distribute. 2x minus 12x minus 9 equals 21. Combine your like terms. Add 9 to both sides. And then divide by -10. So you get x equals -3. Exactly what you had when you graphed it. Now we have to find y. It doesn't matter which equation you pick. You should get the same answer no matter what. So if I use y equals 4x plus 3, 4 times -3 is -12. -12 plus 3 is -9. If you use the other equation, two times -3 is -6. Add 6 to both sides. You get negative 3y equals 27. Divided by negative 3. You still get negative 9. So your answer is still negative 3, negative 9. So either way it goes, that's the answer you get, period. So if you do the steps the right way, if you do the process the right way, you're still going to get the same answer. So does it matter which way you do it? No. It just depends on what the problem asks you to do. So if it tells you that you have to solve it by graphing, then there you go. If you have to solve it by substitution, then there you go. If you get to pick away and do it. Any questions with example 7? Go ahead, hopefully I have an answer. So you're supposed to, did you get that the y-intercept was negative 7? That means you probably did something wrong in your computation. Did you, so when you rewrote it, did you subtract 2x on both sides? So that means you did substitution. So you went right to substitution method, which is not what you're supposed to do for graphing. So when I dismiss everybody, I want to find out what you did, just to make sure that you aren't doing anything wrong. So let me first.